Facebook Live. If anyone comes in, I cannot see you because I have the camera turned around to me. Hopefully I'm not backwards, which I probably am. But just run with it with me just for today. And I am coming to you from my own New Year's resolution. Happy holidays to everybody. Hope Merry Christmas that's coming up and Happy New Year. And then speaking of the New Year, everyone has New Year's resolutions. And my New Year's resolution is to be more consistent. More consistent in what, Rich? More consistent in everything that I do. I want to create the habit of being consistent and not making excuses of why I'm not accomplishing things or I'm not doing things, but put myself into the habitual habit of always doing without excuses. My New Year's resolution goal is to be more consistent. And what I realize is the best way to be consistent is to do things habitually. If you ever read Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil, he mentions the hypnotic rhythm. And what your mind does after it does something, after repetition, over and over and over again, it starts to get into your subconscious, which starts to become hypnotic, which that means you'll do it even without thinking. And so I want to be consistent without thinking. I want to wake up and think consistency and always. So my goal is to do 365 videos just like this of motivation. And this is one. And I was like, at first I was thinking, how are you going to do that? You know, do you have the time? You know, you're always busy. You have places to go, people to see, things to do. You're tired sometimes. Are you really going to be consistent? And I said to myself, don't think, don't do. And I realized excuses are hypnotic. And sometimes without even realizing, they're like bubbles. They just pop out of nowhere. That you have these excuses. Well, that won't work, or that can't happen, or you don't have the resources, you don't know the right people. And it just pops up. And the only way to dead it is to create a new habit that will replace it. And the habit I want to replace it is consistency. So no more excuses ever. And when I think of excuses, I think about a story that Napoleon Hill said in Think and Grow Rich. And he mentions this young Negro girl, right? That's what they call him at the time. And during the 1890s. And the guy tells Napoleon a story about this young girl that goes to this gentleman that his mom was her mom was working for, a white guy. And in that time in the United States during the 1890s, a young black girl couldn't raise her voice to an older white man. That's how you get lynched and bad things happen to you. But she went to this man and said, my mother needs the money for that medication that you owe her. And he's working, he's with his peers, and he's like, wait a minute, you don't come talk to me like that. I'll give her the money when I want to give her the money. Now get out of here. And he starts doing what he was doing, and then he looks back again, and she's standing right there. And he said, didn't I tell you to go? She said, hey, I need that money for my mother's medicine. And he gets enraged. He walks over to her, and of course she's thinking in her mind, oh, this man might beat me, he might lynch me, he might take me out. But she stood her ground. And when he got close, she said, my mother needs that money for that medication now. And the man reached into his pocket and gave her the money. And the friend that was watching that told Napoleon Hill the story was shocked, was like, how did she do that? How did she do that? And she did it because she had no excuses. She knew her mother needed that medicine more than she wanted not to get beaten. The mother needed that medication more than her fear, her excuses, her reasoning of not getting that money for her right now. See, Les told me this, when the dream is big enough, the odds don't matter. When the reason is big enough, the odds don't matter. And what I realize even in my own life, in my own journey, I make excuses. I have reasons why things aren't going the way they are. Why I had that fight with my family, or I had that argument with my spouse. I have reasons and I have excuses of why you're not there where you want to be, or why you're not being more consistent, or why you're not dropping more things that you know you have the ability to do. Why aren't you doing it, Rich? Because you have excuses. We all do. We all have reasons. And the thing about the egoic mind is once it makes excuses, it wants to hold on to it. Why? Because the egoic mind does not want to be wrong. After studying Wayne Dyer's work and great works and speeches by Alan Watts, I realized that the egoic mind does not want to be wrong. So it makes reasons. And you want to hold on to these reasons so tightly because you yourself don't want to be wrong. But I realize if I'm making excuses, I'm already wrong. Because I'm omnipotent. I can do anything I put my mind to. I've done it. I've seen it. When I lock in what I can actually accomplish. When I stop making reasons or excuses. So again, I don't want to just motivate you. I'm going to give you action items. So today, if you have, before New Year's resolution, see, my New Year starts today. Some people say, oh, it starts January 1st. No. Your New Year starts whenever you're ready for it to. Whenever you say, I wake up and I'm ready to lock in, man. I'm ready to lock in. That's when your New Year starts. Everything is based on a decision, not on a date. Not on the calendar. It's based on a mental decision. So there's a few things, items I'm going to do to prepare myself for the next year. So what I want you to do is grab a notepad, right? Grab a regular notepad or sheet of paper and write 20 reasons. 10 to 20 reasons. Just 10 to 20 reasons why you're not accomplishing your goal. Why you haven't reached the weight that you wanted to. Why you don't have the spouse that you would like. Why don't you have the resources? Why don't you have the connections? Why aren't you bigger? Why aren't your company have grown? Why aren't you making enough sales? Why is your income hasn't increased? Write down the reasons, 10 to 20. Just write them down. You know what they are. They're easy to come up with. Just start thinking, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, I can't because, I don't have time, or the gym's too far, or by the time I get from work, I'm tired. You have the reasons. They're there. They're easy to pop up. They pop up like that. So write down 10 to 20 reasons why you can't accomplish your goal. After you write it down on that piece of paper, I want you to do me a favor. Take it outside tonight and burn it. Light the paper on fire. And what I want you to do is like Isaac. Oh, I'm sorry, Ezekiel. Sorry, my Bible sense is very, very low. But I apologize. But I want you to burn it. And I want you to watch it burn. Because when you see the flutters and you see the smoke, let that be the excuses going away. Watch it burn. Don't think. Be present at that moment and just watch it burn. Let that feeling get inside of you of today is the day things change. Watch it burn. It's like the story in the good book when, I want to say Ezekiel, but it's not Ezekiel. It's not Isaac. When the missionary, when he burned the plow. I apologize. All you religious heads probably looking at me like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. But when he burned the plow, so I have a brain fart. But when he burned the plow, he watched it. He spent every day going around and around in a circle at his father's farm, plowing, being a farmer, when he was supposed to be a prophet. And when the prophet came to him, when Elijah came to Elijah and said to him, I want you to come with me. See, his father gave him excuses. You don't know this man. You don't know if he's going to be true to his word. His mother was making excuses. But you have a good home here. You have a good career with your plow. And even in his own mind, he was thinking, well, can I leave the unfamiliar? Or should I leave the familiar for the unfamiliar? Until one day he made the decision and he burned the plow. He burned the ox and he ate the meat. But I can imagine he just watched it burn. He watched it burn. I can tell in the middle of the night, it's pitch dark, there's no lights out, except that burning fire, and he watched it. And he knew that day, when that fire was burning, he was burning those excuses. He was burning those reasons. He was burning them to provide for himself the newness of who he's supposed to be. I'm burning my excuses, and I hope you would join me. No excuses ever. That's my new motto for the 2020. No excuses. Zero. No reasons. Hey, Rich, why haven't you blowed up yet? I don't know. I am, though. I'm going to. I'm in the process. Why is things not happening for you? I'm in the process. Why aren't you losing the weight? I'm in the process. There's no excuses. No, well, because no. It's, hey, I'm in the process. And every day, be in the process. Make yourself a 365-day commitment on something and be more consistent. And every time you do, every time you become more consistent, you'll feel better about yourself. Because there's one fact that's just true, a universal fact that's just true. The more excuses you have, the less results. But the more results you have, the less excuses. This is Rich Fontaine. Either you could agree with me or not agree with me, but either way, I believe this was a successful conversation. Namaste.